Gentlemen, thank you both. Appreciate your comments and your willingness to serve, and to the families that sit behind them, stand behind them. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your support of these individuals as they stand before the committee today. Mr. Walker, let me begin with you. I talk a lot about microgrids here in the committee, and the promise that I think that they hold in places like Alaska that are remote, where we do not have a connected grid. So many of our remote regions really do rely on our microgrids. We've been doing some pioneering. Senator Cantwell had an opportunity to join me in Cordova, where we had a field hearing last year to look at what one small community is doing to make a difference to increase the reliability and the resiliency of the traditional grid by really working to incorporate so many different opportunities. So flexibility has been a key for us. The question for you this morning is regarding the current definition that DOE has of a microgrid. It states that, quote, a microgrid can connect and disconnect from the grid to enable it to operate in both grid-connected or island mode. So the question is if you are confirmed as Assistant Secretary, will you work with us to modify the definition of microgrids to ensure that microgrid projects in remote areas where a larger grid does not exist are more expressly included? Because right now we're being bound by a definition. We're not part of anybody else's, so we can't unconnect. So just your thoughts, if you would, on microgrid, what you might be able to do to prioritize the research, the development, the demonstration, but also how we deal with that definition.
Sure. Thank you for the question, Senator Murkowski. And I'd like to acknowledge some of the work that both yourself and Senator Cantwell sponsored at this committee, and thank this committee for the Senate Bill 1460, which I would note, Senator Murkowski, I noticed a new term, hybrid microgrid. Mm-hmm. And when I saw that, I had to chuckle a little bit to myself, because within the industry, we're still debating exactly what a microgrid actually is. So I am open to the discussion as to what a microgrid or a hybrid microgrid is, and it's fundamentally driven by a number of changes in the industry that have happened throughout the last 10 years, and that is the integration of renewables, as well as the physical and cybersecurity aspects regarding grids. So I think we need to take another look at this within the industry to incorporate where we are today, focusing in on a variety of different things, essential services, reliabilities that will improve and allow us to deal with security aspects, both physical and cyber.
Well, and I appreciate that, and would certainly invite you to come up north, see some of the innovation and the pioneering that's going on. It is exciting, and it will give new definition to what we're talking about when we're talking about hybrids.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to come up and seeing the $6.2 million project at Cordova.
That's right.
And tying it with my brother next time he flies up.
Fishing is always good.
Exactly.
Let me ask you, Mr. Winberg, you mentioned that technology can drive policy and policy can drive technology. There is a lot of focus on the Arctic right now as we are seeing increased shipping opportunities as ice is moving away. We're seeing more travel, whether it is tourism or commercial. There is a much more keen interest in what is happening in the Arctic right now. The Department of Energy used to operate an Office of Arctic Energy to do some review, understand what fuels would work best in a harsh Arctic climate, because what works down here doesn't necessarily work up there. So as we're seeing increased attention on the Arctic for a whole host of different reasons, what do you think about this Office of Arctic Energy that has been suggested that they just shut it down, close it off. How important do you think this kind of technology is that can help drive an Arctic policy?
Senator, thank you for the question. Clearly, Alaska is one of our most prolific energy states. A lot of energy is coming out of there and potential for more energy to come out as well. I have not been briefed on the activities that took place in the past or currently with the Arctic Energy Office, but what I would commit to you is that if I'm confirmed, I will make it one of my high priorities to understand what activities have taken place and what activities could take place in the future with respect to a variety of energy opportunities and needs in Alaska. You mentioned some of the villages that are paying quite high prices for energy, and there are some technologies, modular technologies, that might be able to be brought to bear that I know the DOE is working on. And so I look forward to working with you and your staff and this committee on some of those opportunities for an Arctic Energy Office.
Well, and I appreciate that, and I remind my colleagues a lot that we are an Arctic nation. Even in Nevada, we're still an Arctic nation, and so understanding and working with other Arctic nations about those technologies that allow us to be more efficient operators in, again, a pretty tough environment is important, advancing those technologies. Senator Cantwell.